whole Freedom Festival a couple of weeks ago.
The big one.
The big one, yeah. First headline festival, I believe it was. Yeah. One, yeah. I mean, obviously you're here tonight in Manchester, hometown, but how does it feel to be able to headline festivals? Obviously, it was such a big day with the album as well.
That one was really special. We didn't really think about it. I didn't really realise we were headlining.
Really?
And I didn't really realise how many people there were. I wear glasses, right? And I don't really wear them on stage, but it never normally matters that much. At that place, I realised halfway through the set how far back it went, and it was just like insane. But yeah, that was a really special night.
Fantastic. And obviously, for you guys now, given that you're doing much bigger shows across the globe now, doing festivals in the States and everything, is it cool to do? Because Hull's not exactly the most traditionally. It's nice to do like smaller cities that perhaps don't get exposure to big bands with reputations such as yourselves.
We're not really that inspired or bothered about geography. Yeah. We'll go and play absolutely anywhere. We think that there's obviously going to be. We're from a small town in like Cheshire, so there's never any bands coming there. But we understand that if they ever did, we know there'd be like-minded people. So it's kind of we'll go and play anywhere, man.
Absolutely, man. And obviously, these shows, hometown, Manchester. What do these mean to you now at this point in your career? Because obviously, again, being able to travel, come back to Manchester, use it as an excuse to see family. What do you do when you?
This is one of the most important things. I don't come back to Manchester anymore. I don't really have any time. I've been back like once or twice this year, but I've been so busy that basically we've been on tour the whole time, and to come back, this show is the first This is one of the shows I've been looking forward to most this year, because we played where did we play? We played the Deaf Institute last time. We played Manchester, and now we're doing the Ritz. We did the Ritz for Dot to Dot, but this is our first proper show, and it's going to be a real homecoming, I think.
Absolutely, yeah, it should be nice. And what's your attitude? Obviously, you've been working together for many, many years, and obviously to have the #1 album thing's fantastic as well. But sort of how does it feel now to be in a situation where you've got a #1 record? And how inspiring do you think that'll be for bands from smaller towns who perhaps think that maybe Cheshire and areas like Hull where you play aren't the best for exposure, and they may not necessarily think they need to move, maybe they need to move somewhere else to get exposure? What's your attitude to the idea of moving to London or a bigger city to find exposure?
I think you don't need it. I think you need really, really good songs. You need a really, really concise vision. And I think with the internet, geography now is totally obsolete. It doesn't really matter. I think the way that our band broke was on the internet, and we've never lived in London. We lived in Cheshire our whole lives. We didn't need to move. You don't need to move. You just need to be good at what you do and patient. Very, very patient.
Yeah. And I was wondering, outside of music, because obviously you've got the 80s sort of influence in your sound, and we'll talk a little about that in a minute. But outside of, is there any literature or anything else, or movies that you guys use for inspiration, or things that are inspiring you right now?
Well, John Hughes, the kind of oeuvre of John Hughes is a massive visual inspiration for us, and I think that kind of bleeds into the music, because our record is kind of like a soundtrack to a John Hughes movie about our lives. That was the plan. John Hughes. I think the whole Beat Generation, Jack Kerouac movement was really, really influential on me when I was about 19. Maybe not so much anymore. I don't have the aspirations to be quite so decadent as I've got a bit older, but I think that definitely bled into my attitude when I was writing a lot of the songs that made it onto this record, because some of the ideas go back 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And how would you say, because obviously it's a long time you've been working together, working hard on this music, how would you say you've changed personally? Obviously you can't necessarily speak for the whole of the band, through the music that you've made as a 1975.
Well, it is kind of
it's
the main kind of, it's my only form of kind of expression, especially creative expression. It's totally defined me, and I suppose I've always used, in a non-pretentious way, I've always used it to kind of aid me. None of these songs were written when anybody knew about our band, so I've always been able to be as totally honest as possible and not worried about anything am I being too honest, is this too... I wasn't harboured by any weird questions or connotations because people weren't hearing it. So I've kind of evolved into a person that I'm quite comfortable with now.
And that's come through the songwriting.
Yeah, and I think the period where I wasn't comfortable with myself is what's been captured on the record. And I think that I always question everything, especially part of my identity. I'm quite an introspective person. I think that think the next record will probably be quite reflective of that.
Okay, so quite sort of self-exploration and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think the first one was more kind of self-deprecating. It's a very self-aware record. I think it's about self-exploration, but it's coming from the kind of the post side, you know. Like,
I was going to ask as well. I mean, obviously you travel around a lot now. You know, where do you find inspiration? Could it be people that you're with, places? Do you have a favourite place to write, for example, or is it?
Well, it just has to be on the bus. We live on a tour bus now. I don't have a house anymore. I just live on the tour bus, and I'm going to get a place in December.
Congratulations. Whereabouts? In this area? Or?
In London. Yeah, I think, but that's because I'm kind of needed to be there now, and I've got a lot of friends and ties.
It's a lot easier to do.
Yeah, and we're working on other people's records and stuff like that. So
Congratulations again.
yeah, it's cool. So it'll be good. I think that we yeah, I digressed slightly.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that I think that it's kind of sometimes you can be sitting down somewhere.
Yeah, it's not. I think we find inspiration from everywhere. It's always come from a very, very personal perspective. It's not necessarily about places. It's about the way I've felt, and the place will always kind of frame it in my mind. But it's never. I think that we've just had to kind of really, really embrace this first kind of new dynamic that we have, people listening to our music and knowing our music and going through this constant kind of human verification every day, like loads of people validating our presence. That's kind of what's defining the moment, and I think that's what's inspiring the next kind of record.
Fantastic. And I was going to ask as well, in terms of your future and the plans for the next couple of months, what are you going to be doing? Are you going to be writing and doing lots of work on other people's records?
Yeah, we're on tour until December, and then we're working on a girl's record in December in my flat for like 3 weeks, and then we go to Australia, and we got like Brixton Academy and stuff, and then we go to Australia.
Fantastic. And I wanted to ask, because it's quite an obscure lot of influences to you guys. You've got the Michael Jackson in the 80s, but I read somewhere that you used to listen to Glassjaw as well.
Massively.
I was going to ask if there could be a Frankenstein's monster for the 1975 sound, so a bit of Glassjaw, a bit of Michael Jackson, a bit of whoever. What would be the Frankenstein's monster, the legs and the arms of?
I don't know. I think that the idea with our band, it's quite uplifting music that leans a lot on syncopation and rhythm and lends from black American music and pop music, but there's quite an underlying dour kind of narrative, and it's all very, I suppose there's a kind of more sinister undertone to it. I always say that my perfect song would sound like I Want to Dance With Somebody by Whitney Houston, but convey the message and the conviction of Leonard Cohen on Hallelujah,
Yeah,
That's what I think.
That sounds like a wicked one.
A brilliant composite of ideas, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to ask, final question is really, obviously people are going to talk, this past year has been an amazing year for you guys, and in the past you've obviously, the Muse supports, all the big level gigs which have been great learning curves for you. What's a sort of an uncrowned personal highlight of 2013 for you guys? Maybe it's sitting in the back, or just being
Last night we did Shepherd's Bush Empire last night.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Yeah, okay.
It was because this tour was like the first proper tour we've been. It's really hard to not subserviate any of the moments, because you ask me on one day and I'll say it, and then I think, oh no, but that was, we've met so many of our heroes. We've played so many incredible shows. Leeds and Reading, because we used to go to Leeds so much. Leeds was like, you were there. It was a really, really big moment for us.
It's pretty, I think the whole of that festival is brilliant for bands every year, because it brings everyone together. People just hang out and catch up with friends, and it's such a nice vibe.
Wonderful vibe. So Leeds and last night at Shepherd's Bush Empire was just insane, and so many great shows.
Fantastic, man. Well, thank you very much.